Welcome back, everyone. We're live on the main stage. Just a couple of little parish notices from me. If you'd like to come and take your seats, please do come in and fill the seats. Obviously, our first session with Miguel Angel Gil, very, very popular, and we had it absolutely full. Plenty of space now to come and take your seats. And also, obviously because of the acoustic, we're in a big old open stadium here, and we've got echo from that concourse behind. So if you are not watching this session, please try and stay away from that area right at the back under the cover, because the noise in there really affects the stage, unfortunately. So if you're not watching this session, please sort of stay away from this part of the stadium and go and check out the expo area or the WFS stage or the other areas of WFS Europe. But yeah, you're more than welcome to come and join us. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to kick off with our next session now, and I'm about to bring on our speakers. The customer is always right. It is a phrase which is as old as time, especially as well as the world of football is concerned, the world of business as a whole. And here's the twist. The fan now is increasingly aware of their power. Just have a look at what happened with the European Super League. Clearly, fans had an influence over what happened over that mad week, where the plan for a 12-club breakaway was launched and then completely collapsed. I was covering the story on Sky in the UK, perhaps one of the most extraordinary weeks that I've ever witnessed. You don't want to get on the wrong side of your fan, but actually, let's look at this more positively. In 2021, how do we engage them? And how much has fan engagement actually been informed by the pandemic? Did COVID-19 inadvertently give us a little glimpse into the future of sports? How much role does new technology play? What about esports? Will these be areas of significant investment going forward as well? What about less tangible areas? How much do football entities need to show social and moral responsibility? And of course, all of this will depend on what type of stakeholder you are. There is plenty to discuss here. Your moderator for this session is the CEO from B+, Jose Barco. And please also welcome your speakers, CEO and founder at OneFootball, Lucas von Canach, CEO at Bundesliga International, Robert Klein, CEO of Business at RC de Mallorca, Alfonso Diaz, and joining us by video link, Executive Director, Global Brand and Marketing at Rakuten, Raul Cadavacolu. Jose, te paso la palabra. It's over to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Muchas gracias. Hello, good morning. Guten Morgen, willkommen in Madrid. Diao.
Hola.
Raúl, good morning. Welcome in Madrid. And Alfonso, bienvenido a Madrid.
Thank you.
Guys, for me, it's such an honor to be here. Being in an industry that I am since a couple of years only, and leading a company that is trying to make some room in engaging very strong the properties, the brands, and the corporations with the fans. I guess the first question I have is based on your experience. I mean, when we talk about engagement, we're talking about the heart of the fan, or what in other companies they talk about the consumer, the user. When we talk about the sport football, this heart, this emotion is very strong. Do you think that we have the right to talk about the heart, the emotional part, and the business part? Do you think that this connection, this engagement is only complete when we move into the monetizing that strong relationship that you as brands, as properties have built?
Should I start?
Yeah. Lucas, sorry.
As you're closer.
Yeah. So I would say we're quite close to the fans, because with OneFootball we have built and established a fan-centric football experience. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about monetization, I always say money follows the best user experiences. So if you enter a space with the objective of wanting to earn money, you probably won't build the best experience. If you build the best experience and users go and use it, then you will earn money with it. And I think that's a concept which has been proven over the last 2 decades, especially from American big companies like Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, etc., where platforms were established, where first it was about building the best user experience without any monetization objective. Facebook didn't do any revenues for the first 8 years. Same for Twitter, same for Instagram, same for Amazon. I remember when everyone in Europe was laughing about Amazon doing 500 million losses a year, and the whole retail industry was saying, like, what's happening with this company? Mm-hmm. Then they had hundreds of millions of customers, tweaked the monetization after all these customers were using it, suddenly $1 billion plus in 1 year. And then everyone was scared. And that's what I think what we have to keep in mind, that this all is about the football fan. And when we cater to the football fans' needs, we're going to earn money with
You
it.
certainly in OneFootball have been doing this many years. I understand that it for you is a staggered dynamic. And you, Patrick, being in one of the most innovative, I would say, leagues, how do you see this process of heart, emotional connection, and monetization of that?
Well, I think as a starting point, you know, in the Bundesliga, the connection with the fan is specifically deep. They're a big part of their community. So you've got to be on your toes as well when you're dealing with fan engagement. And the key point, and there I would agree totally with Lucas, is it's the engagement, right? You need to be giving them something which is relevant to them, something that they really are effectively after. Because if you do it in a crude manner, if you're not authentic, then you're going to very quickly have a separation of the two. And if you call a fan a consumer, then you're immediately in trouble. The reality is they are a consumer. And you'll know from FMCG, there's certain paths and metrics you can follow. With the fan, it is different. There is a heart, there's an emotional side to sport that you've got to really marry. So from a league perspective, we have sort of two eyes on this. And Andreas, who may be in the crowd, he's also going to talk later. He's the CEO of Digital Sports. There we have a company that focuses primarily on digital content, digital platforms, and specifically understanding the fan that you've got. So we want to break those down, but we're also a league, right? And we'll probably talk about it later. Fans support clubs, and they support the players. So we act kind of as a conduit, and we really try and understand our fans. And there was just one bit of information, which is hilarious. So if you look at the baby boomers, right? That's my dad's generation. Their consumption of the Bundesliga in deep study, we do this around the world, but in deep study is first TV, then newspaper, not online, newspaper, and then website. If you go then to the generation Y and Z, the first port of call is the app, which is good news for you, Lucas. And therefore, you need to also know where they are so that you're communicating on the space. But I mean, we can go into more detail on that later. But it's important, I think, authenticity, and that the engagement, the actual product that you're putting out there is relevant.
Fantastic. Thank you. So win really the hearts before you move into the next step, because if they don't believe, if they are not truly property brand lovers, then they will leave you at some point of time.
Yeah, exactly. And the younger they are, right, the more demanding they get. And you have to be aware of that.
That's clear. I'm gonna move to Raul. Raul, you have actually in Rakuten, you have two roles. One is most linked to the global sports division, which is more on the fan part. The other one is more on the business part, brand sales. How do you see this dichotomy, this difference between the both sides?
Thank you, Jose. Firstly, I must admit that I feel terrible not being able to be there in person while all of you are sitting there meeting face to face. But I guess this is a sneak preview into the new normal, as they say, where we're going to live in a hybrid world. I think it's a very interesting question. For me, it's a yes and a no. In the sense, I think our engagement strategy at the end of the day needs to be built. Not anything different from how you build a customer-first strategy when it's business. You put the fan at the center of everything that you do, and you build this whole strategy with meaningful connect. There needs to be purpose. Like what all the other speakers said, there's a strong emotional quotient that comes across sports. So there is no way looking outside of that. But I guess the other important point is also how you define the word monetization. Now, if you start building a fan engagement strategy that revolves direct, where monetization equals direct revenue, there's a higher chance that you may fail in your effort, because you're taking the focus away from what the fan actually needs. And for you to be able to build a deeper connect with the fan using whatever platforms that you want to use. But monetization, on the other hand, would mean having more increased time on the app. Maybe a better way of getting them to go into derivative businesses like this. So all these indirect, not direct. So I think the way you define the word monetization also plays a extremely critical part in ensuring that your fan engagement is successful. But yeah, completely aligned with what the other speakers have said. It's very important to sort of look at the fan, center forward in everything that we do.
Fantastic. So fun at the center of everything you do, and be careful how you define monetization so that it's also natural for the fan to get into that. Alfonso, you have a very strong financial background from your time in the electronics companies business. How do you feel when you have to deal with engagement versus the financial business part of it?
Yes, well, this is a really different industry, the soccer and the world industry, the football industry. But yes, we have to consider, and based on our experience, which are the key factors that we have to follow when we take every decision within the club. First is the geographic location, that is really important. The values, that's why we are there and we live by. And of course the people, we have to consider the people too, no? So based on these three key factors, we are taking all the decisions. Also it's important to say that the clubs, the leagues, the federations, they are there to ensure the sporting, the fan engagement, and ensure the success for the future in order to have these entities to continue in a long term. Even when we leave, our entities that is going to take longer and it's going to be there for the future, no? So coming back to the question is, I will say yes and no at the same time, but the revenue of the fan engagement ensures somehow and contributes to the continuity of all these entities for the future. So of course that the fans are in the center, and we have lived with the COVID. The football, the soccer without fans has no sense. We have lived it, and they are in the center of that. No, so I believe that both things at the same time, the health of the fans and all the revenues that we are looking for, both things can be achieved at the same time for sure.
I think it's important. It's a different angle as well. So there's a retrofit. You need to continue being financially viable, to continue feeding and helping build the emotions also with the younger generation.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
Then I could go into a little bit different of a question. When we talk about fan engagement, I can see two dimensions. We can strive for more fans, or we could strive for better fans. For instance, what we try to do at B+ is try to get rid of all the noise. When you say we have 600 million followers, we try to see, okay, but how many of those are real fans, and with how many of those you can communicate. What do you think is most important? Is it the quantity, I want to reach more, or the quality, I want to reach them better and make them more loyal to me, or 50-50, or one has to go with the other?
I mean, from that perspective,
Patrick.
We definitely focus on engagement levels, right? So that would then dictate that we're going for quality. Now, obviously, you want as many as possible with the highest engagement, but what you don't want is to have this big pool of fans which are just signed up in your ecosystem but are doing nothing with it. So it's important to have exactly that separation. So I would always put quality first, and then with the quality, the hope, and to a certain extent the expectation is then that you will get the more fans. I think for me that's very straightforward.
So going somehow in parallel, but start with the quality. You have to ensure that the quality is good when you move into video.
Otherwise you're just going to piss people off.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah.
That's plain English. Thank you.
I think it starts with reality. So if I may say, I believe that over the last 10-15 years, we kind of got a bit screwed with social media numbers.
Yeah.
Because if you add up all social media numbers, there are more fans in football than people on the planet, which obviously doesn't work. And also, you know, what I see constantly, clubs, leagues, federations, everyone, not only in football, counts Twitter plus Facebook plus Instagram plus Snapchat, which I think is a bit awkward because there's overlap. And then no one talks about activity versus followers. Mm-hmm. So, and I always say it's better to have a big boat on a small river than a small boat on a big river.
Like that.
So, and really look at the reality that I hope that in future, in the next upcoming years, people get back to reality that a football club doesn't have 100 million people engaging with the football club on a daily basis. There's a hardcore group of millions. That's what you actually see. I would love to see the full truth of football clubs going back again to how many engagement and users do clubs, leagues, federations have on their app, on their website. We're talking millions, not tens or hundreds of millions. That's the truth. And I think that's, if we get back to that, then it will be easier for us again to talk to brands, to really engage properly with fans. And that's why at OneFootball, where we actually reach 100 million plus, is not social media. It's our own community, and I think that's where the truth lays, and not 4 billion football fans.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I would like to add on that because when I came in a long time ago into the football industry, it was just TV audience pretty much, right? Early 2000s. And the stat that would be thrown out was available households that you could reach. Totally irrelevant stat, okay? Because all right, so it's the same thing. It's like it's more people than there are on Earth, and you don't know who you're touching. And then he was like, no, but guys, now we're coming to the internet world, right? And certainly about 2006, 2007, everyone was saying it's gone digital. Everything is going to be measurable. So now we are in 2021, and my question to a lot of these data companies that are coming up, and even internally, is give us a measure that is measurable, because you still have 15,000 different ones, right? And even within, if you go into engagement rates, it changes. And so I think the digital sphere has still got a long way to go to be measurable in a way that then it can be accountable. And it's very frustrating. So if you're trying to take a digital audience, they have now an average measured audience, which is meant to be close to the TV audience. But people measure it different ways, right? Viewing time divided by the viewers is 1. Another one is if you've been on for more than 3 minutes, it is 1. So which one is it? I appreciate your approach, but you know, humans and business people, we like to be tickled by numbers, by big numbers. So we tend to believe with this. Exactly, but they need to make sense. Yeah, I agree. Alfonso, getting to the analogy that we're giving, are you trying to build, or do you think it's better to build a big boat in a small river? Or do you want to go into the big river and then try to build your boat no matter how big it is? Well, this is a very contemporary issue of all federation, clubs and leagues we are facing and our day by day. But in our case, we thought that the quality was the first thing to look at. And what we did is our content has to be quality. We prefer to, in our social media, to do less but with much quality, in order to have more engagement in our fans. And this strategy and the way we did it, it really works. And in the last 3 years, for example, in 1920, we were the 4th club in YouTube, just followed by Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Betis. Last season, we were the 8th club, even being in 2nd division, in the 8th club in social media engagement. Being in 2nd division, and this season we are now in the 7th position in the social media engagement. So it means that you don't need to do a big content, a lot of content. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of content, there's a lot of platforms growing with a lot of fans, but you have to do the right content, know your fan, understand what they want and what they don't want. This is important to know, and give a quality on your content. Yeah. So at least for us, this is working right now. So go back to what we said before. I think Raúl mentioned it. Go to the center, to put the fan in the center. Go to their heart. Right. Build contents for them. Make sure that they are loyal, and then try to go further. A little bit what Robert was also saying. Raúl, you have, I wouldn't say a big empire, but you're leading a big media group where engagement and quality and quantity of engagement are certainly values that you talk about every day. How do you see the approach?
Well, ideally, in an ideal world, I would like to approach on the big group. And today, I think you are do that because let's look at what COVID has done to customers, fans, any sphere that you take. They've given opportunity to people who had time in their hand to try new things. Numbers when it comes to Korean drama, if I take a different industry, I've thought through the in marketing, never imagined. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, of course, you need to focus on quality. Your co-fans are extremely critical, and I think people but I think said quality of the types of engagement is not available. But I think now there is a huge opportunity to acquire fans from completely different industries. At the end of the day, given that customers and fans in general try new things, maybe what you sports itself, or the sport that you belong to itself, to bring them in. But there's a chance that you could bring them in music collaboration, music. Maybe a collaboration with a fashion line, maybe a collaboration or a documentary series. So various ways in which you bring in more casual fans to sort of interact with your team or if you're an athlete. So you can actually probably make it bigger while you're still right at the top. So I would say both. Obviously, the core fan is very critical. The levels and quality of engagement is most importantly needs to be sort of personalized engagement.
That's a very interesting angle. So ensure your quality, ensure your brand, and try to expand to other areas where you think you can also catch, you can engage, you can make people fall in love from other people that probably are not in your core business right now, but they love you. Guys, you like so much quality, I'm going to have to invite you to our B+ stand afterwards, because I think we can do business together.
We will.
There was one point, I think, I don't know if it was you, Robert, you talked about how demanding the younger generations are. And I think they are very demanding, and that takes us to a concept which is the importance of differentiation. Maybe you can help me here, Lucas, because you work in a very competitive environment where there are applications, ecosystems, information, data that is shared there. What do you think is important in the football industry or in your area to build that differentiation and to be relevant versus many others around you?
Yeah, so we started, or I started the whole business with the idea of building a platform which has to be mutually beneficial for everyone who's within the platform and the ecosystem. So for me, I strongly believe in the collective. So therefore, we were very lucky actually to have the Super League as shareholders of OneFootball, which we managed to do last year. So all the big clubs with Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juve, PSG, Bayern Munich, etc., Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, are all shareholders of OneFootball. But
the European Super League didn't happen, just to be clear.
Yeah, I know, but that's why we have managed to build it.
Right, okay, yeah.
In a collective. Yeah. So
sensitive word, but okay.
Exactly, but it's a different approach, definitely. And what and the differentiation is obviously that we as a platform, we're in the same space like Facebook and Google and YouTube, etc. But what we do is we deliver value for all these clubs. So, and the leagues and the federations, that we let them participate in revenues and let them participate in access to data and access to customers. And by doing that, all these different parties, which is in total 150 clubs, leagues and federations, also as partners, put more content into the ecosystem. By putting more content into the ecosystem and less on social media, we'll get more fans into the ecosystem and the product grows. So our average user consumes OneFootball like 50, 60 times a month and spends 3 to 7 minutes per session, which is actually more engagement per customer than users are engaging on Twitter. So, and that's proving for me that we're doing the right thing. Because just by saying I want to be differentiated doesn't mean that you succeed. Yeah, and there I'm with numbers, and then you have comparables, but that's what we did with OneFootball.
Well, I definitely bring your numbers up because I'm a huge fan of your application. Right. I am far more in them than in Twitter. So looking for the right partners, trying to grow together is one of the things that
it's B2B and B2C.
I clear.
You need to do both things right.
Very clear, very clear. Robert, no disrespect, but when one thinks about fan engagement, we think that that probably we talk mostly about, or we comes to mind to players, clubs. How do you do from a league point of view to make people fall in love, not with the club, not with the fan, not with the player, but with the league?
Yeah, I mean, I said at the beginning, and I think anyone who's in sport realizes the fans support clubs and players foremost. But we also have Bundesliga fans. We have around the world, in the social footprint, over 30 million who are coming to see through the door of Bundesliga how then they can obviously decide whether they want to go to clubs, whether they want to go to players. So we have a dual approach as well. We work very hard on our owned and operated platforms, but we also are working extremely closely with the clubs, right, who are going to give us the access to the players. And for me specifically, right, I mean, one day I'm talking to our partner Sky Perfect in Japan. In Japan, they are clear. They love the Bundesliga, but they are really hot for the news of Japanese players. If you go down to South America, it's actually it's slightly different. We've got Brazilian players, we've got Mexican players and so on, but they want the big clubs, they want the big names. So we're servicing them much more around Lewandowski and Haaland and Müller. And what I'm trying to say that, as the league perspective, we act as a conduit through our partners of the information and the data that our fans want around the world. And then we turn inwardly, and I will talk with Andreas and say, look, we need this localization, we need this customization, and then we will either deliver the content, or if we can't, then we will go to the clubs. But it's totally different around the world. But I think if any league says they're following a league first, that's not correct. But we have a big role to play as an access point.
So you again, understand your user, your consumer, your partner,
yeah.
Look into your actives and try to leverage what you have. Because as a league, you have all the clubs and all the players.
We have the clubs, we have our own direct fans, and then from my perspective, we have, probably whatever it is, 60, 70 broadcasters around the world, and they've got their own information. So we need to act as this conduit through it. And not everyone knows, I mean, Lucas will, because he's deep into world football, but German football. The Deutsche Football League is a league, but it's also one of the biggest media businesses in Germany, right? So we're doing the live broadcast, we're doing all the digital, we are doing literally all of the platforms and every sort of shoulder content around the world, including the marketing into market. So it gives us a real touch point with our fans and businesses.
Fantastic. Thank you. I think we have time for one question for Raul and one question for Alfonso before I think we're going to move also to audience questions. Raul, 30 years ago when I was a little kid, or 40 years ago when I was a little kid, the way for me to consume football was going with my father to the football stadium or watching the one match that was on TV and then watching the goals that same evening. Now we talk about multi-screen, multi-content, multi-time. It's a completely different reality. Everyone can be connected at 5 different things at the same time or not. How do you do with Rakuten? How do you see this new reality? How do you make the best out of that?
So at Rakuten, we are not just a conglomerate. Conglomerate is a very space defining company, but we are a business. So our businesses are connected, and our goal is to sort of deliver a sense of discovery to the customer or fan. So the concept of having multiple services being delivered to the customers has been part of our DNA, and we're all powered by a single with data and brand recognition of our ecosystem. I guess what I say might sound like a cliche, but the future, and I think the example that you just gave is, I don't think has changed much, because traditional sport continues to be an entertainment form compared to, say, music or the movie industry, where you have different genres and obviously the type of genres that people like, they pick and choose a movie or listen to music. But I think traditional sport, like football, you still have 4 or 5 generations watching the same game. So to it's fun and the grandchildren still watching. So I guess the key message here is not try and work on one size fits all strategy. obviously, when you're doing or multi-media approach to your platform, you need to ensure that it's non-intrusive, it's not taking away from the actual live game experience. You're able to give it to them as and when they want it. I think that is going to be extremely key, and what we also saw in numbers back this, and Dr. Lucas will be able to share more of this. When we essentially have own the rights for NBA in Japan, and we have our platform in India, which delivers the service. We obviously launched additional including the chat functionality. We realized that not everybody wants to consume all the features that we launch. So it's very critical to personalize this experience. So I think that it will be an age of hyper-personalization going forward. So you can't stick to a one-to-one form approach. And what I'm saying might sound like today, if you look at the post-COVID world, look at the number of innovations that have actually come to light. And I'm wondering if there's a statistic somewhere. It's somebody measuring this. Earlier we talked about strategy. Now we're talking about bringing that innovation to life in a platform. It's almost a situation of survival. Right?
Thank you, Raul. So I get variety and customization of the offer. I think is very key. Not one size doesn't fit all. Not in 2021 at all, and for sure not in the future. Thank you, Raul. Alfonso, look at the stadium where we are. This is where we used to be passionate and where the fans can really connect the most with the teams. That's the physical part of being connected. That was killed for 1 year and a half. And you guys, the football club, suffered the most. No? There's the digital part, the virtual part of engaging with the fans. How do you think they should be balanced? Do you think there is one model, the physical, that should be moved and replicated in digital? There should be two different models, or we should approach the fans with a kind of a phygital combined approach, if such a word exists?
Well, the pandemic changed everything. And of course, the approach to our fans and to our fan engagement. Previously, we were very physical, and this phygital concept is a necessity that we have to implement. The process speed up with the pandemic, and the COVID made us having strategies, long-term strategies and practices that we have to put in place.
And they are here to stay. You think they are here?
Right, and they're here to stay. No, so it makes us speed the process to improve and grow digitally, no? So in that sense, in our club, we were very focused on see how we kept the engagement despite the fans were not able to come to the stadiums, how we keep this engagement, no? It is true that the abroad fans live in digital, so we are now more open worldwide. Okay.
Well, that wasn't you.
So we have done a lot of initiatives and a lot of strategy to work on this digital side, no? Well, in fact, what we did, we did a live streaming of our games, so the fans were not able to come, but we bring the experience, or at least to reproduce the experience of the game in their houses, in their homes. So we put different cameras in the tunnel, in the benches. We have live interviews after the game, so our fans can interact with our players after the game. So we did different activities, so we have to keep them engaged. This fun abroad that we have, and now we are more digital, made us to talk the same language of our new fans, no? Our international fans. So now we are giving content in 5 different languages. The Mallorquin, our local language, Spanish, English, Korean, and Japanese. So this made us speed up all this process, no?
Yeah.
And all the initiatives we did in terms of digital, we improved our fan shop because it was needed now physically during the match days. People cannot come and buy our merchandising products. We did all this live broadcasting. We went to digital. We take the opportunity to go to the digital ticketing. So now our ticket is 100% digital. We do our mascots to the homes of our fans.
Yeah.
So we interact with them. We want to continue not only with the local fans, but going to fans abroad. That is really this opportunity to grow, no?
So more than a reinvention or a different model, you had to accelerate the evolution of the model.
Right.
But looking here, I think that you have the right partners to work with, because for this,
Sure.
for this new approach, you're going to need the media groups, the leagues, and the football community. So I'm
Right.
sure that you guys will work together. I have one more question, but I don't know if, yeah? Well, I think, I mean, we talked a lot about the past, the present, and we always have to look at the past to see how the experience has been and how we learn from it and how we build the future. But the question could be, you guys are gurus. And what we all want to know when we talk about gurus is what's going to happen? What's the future of fan engagement? Which concepts, which ideas, which relevant technologies or ways to get to the emotion of the fans do you think that could be there? If you can reveal anything. You are among friends.
Well, from my perspective, personally, and I think also from what we're experiencing with partners, it'd be interesting to see what you guys think. Personalization. The more that this goes, it's the future of me, from my viewpoint. So if you were watching the Bundesliga with me rather than La Liga, which would be great, right? On a Saturday afternoon, you're going to be sat down, and we have already developed apps in this direction, and I'm sure OneFootball will do the same when they're going to the live environment, where you'll be able to basically choose the game that you're watching, if you've got the access, the information that you want from the players, interact socially, probably be all over the place, but it will happen almost because the algorithms behind will be scarily so good, they will be able to deliver to you what you want. And I think that's going to be, in the next 10 years, that's where the focus is going to be and where more of the technology is going to drive at least the live experience towards.
So not only customized, like I was saying, but personalized.
Absolutely.
Give me, Jose Barco, what I really want.
And in a way, again, it's going to be a balance, right? Because sometimes if someone says, hey, Robert, as soon as you walk in, you're like, no, well, no, how do you know my name?
Yeah.
But the point is, it's going to be about finding that balance and be able to deliver the content you want at the right time.
Difficult balance.
Yeah.
Any other, Lucas?
Yeah, for me, so personalization is definitely one thing, in direction of the fans, but also in direction of the entities, which is very important to do the matching. But I think the question we have to ask ourselves is like, where do users actually, where do they stay? Where do they consume, etc.? And obviously, it's going to be less on the big TV screens. It's going to be more on mobile phones. It's going to be more and more into that direction, because the younger generation actually doesn't have TVs anymore at home. So, or they use them completely differently with screencasting, or they use them in a complete different way. I think what's going to happen, especially over the next couple of years, and there's also big news on our side to come. You see the guys here, Dapper Labs, who are promoted here, that you actually see more and more people actually being in the metaverse or being engaged on the blockchain. There's a complete different revenue stream which is popping up. And I think, like in general, when it comes to also these different angles which are popping up, everyone just has to listen that this is what users want. If you like it or not, if you like the metaverse, a second world, and you say, I don't like it, okay, maybe you don't like it, but that's where the young generation is. Everyone knows Roblox if you have young children.
Yeah.
They have 300 million people a month using Roblox. It's a shitty product, sorry, but it's 300 million people, and young kids are acting on Roblox. If you like that or not, it doesn't change the number that people are acting there.
Yeah.
And it's not Facebook or Twitter or Instagram.
Do we have time for more answers, or?
I think we've got time for one more.
Okay, Alfonso, Raúl, one of you.
Okay, Raúl. Okay, well, very easy and very fast. What I believe is that the model, I think, that has to change. In digital, we have to start the process, but also on how we consume TV, soccer, football through TV, and also in ticketing, live where we are physically there, no? So I think that we have to look at the other entertainments and media industries that have done a really good job in terms of subscription, these Netflix models, and I have that TV and the ticketing we are offering, the offer has to change, has to be more flexible, has to adapt to the new necessities and the way the young generations are watching the game, and giving these subscription models where the fans can come and attend in the different ways, they can come or not whenever they want to. So I think that this is the model that we should follow in the future.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Alfonso. I learned a lot, so thank you guys. Thank you, the four of you. I don't know if you guys enjoyed it. I didn't. I did a lot.
Thanks for you.
Thanks.
For all the questions.
Is my microphone working? Yes, it is. They're on fire up there in the AV box. Fantastic to speak to all of you. I absolutely did learn a lot. Luckily, I will see with my own eyes, because we have on Sky Sports the Bundesliga rights in the UK, and we have La Liga via La Liga TV. And of course, we're well aware of the good work that OneFootball do. And I did wonder whether that M word, metaverse, might come up. And you've gone there early, Lucas, and I very much enjoyed that. And Raoul, thank you very much. You're one of our favourites, and next time, hopefully, we will have you with us in person. But thank you so much, where it's late where you are, for joining us here at World Football Summit in our first hybrid event, and impeccably moderated by Jose, as always. So, ladies and gents, please give us up for this latest panel. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. Off you go.
After you.
Okay.